Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Roelios, and in this video, I'll be doing a VOD review of a Plat level Lucio player who submitted a request for a VOD review on r/Overwatch University, which is like a subreddit for like educational Overwatch for those of you that didn't know. So since it's an open request, I'm gonna take the liberty of trying to help this Lucio player out in the best way that I can. Hope you guys learned something new from this review as well. And do remember to subscribe to the channel in case you want to see more VOD reviews like this. I do enjoy doing these, and I'm going to try and put them out a bit more often than I normally do. So, yeah, let's get started. Um, so, this is like a Lucio player on PC. Their in game name is Solus. I don't know how you pronounce that. It would make sense if it was Solus, because that's like an actual word. But they spell it, as you can see on the top right, SOL0CE. I'm just gonna say Solus for now. And they aren't like a Lucio main per se, as per what they've written, but they have a good win rate on him, and also play other supports like Ana, Mercy, Moira, and they are grouped up with the two other DPS that we see on Team 2, that's Strudel and Monkey. Okay, interesting names. Um, Alright, so Solus has written that in this VOD they thought their song and ult usage was okay. They had meh boops, crappy to okay positioning. They fed by contesting unwisely or on the payload too much. Switched to autopilot. Anyway, the gist of it is that they just want feedback on the Lucio play, and like they would like whoever's reviewing them to review their playstyle, um, talk about how to use boops, song usage, positioning. All right, for sure I can help you out over there. Um, all right, let's get into this match then. So I can see that team 2 is attacking, that is Solus's team. And like before we start the gameplay, let's quickly just talk about Havana as a map. So this is generally like a map with a good like a lot of scope for long range like hit scan play. So you will see a lot of double sniper played here, similar to Junker down A. So a lot of Widowmaker, a lot of Hanzo. You will even see like tanks switch to things like double shield. Sigma especially is really good because he can cut off sniper sightlines. Uh, we typically do not see a Lucio here unless you are playing like a Rhine comp, which is like where Lucio's value mainly lies in the game. But like knowing that this is a plat game, we are not going to focus too much on the compositions and instead just talk about what you can do individually on your role. And yeah, let's see how things go. So Solus has written that they were calming during the game, relaying things like enemy positioning and ult usage.
Stop the payload.
All right. So what do we have? So this is the comp, which is Hog, Sigma, Junkrat, Soldier, Mercy, Lucio. So just at a glance, we are running two off tanks. So there's not going to be as much like space bot for us as we would normally like. So like generally, like when you're playing a Hog Sigma comp, you're relying mostly on your team to get picks for you because that's what Hog himself is good at, and that's what Sigma can do, which is like confirm kills with his accretion and hyperspheres. So this is more of a like deathmatchy tank line, and generally like there's not as much value for a Lucio here as there would be for let's say something like a Zenyatta or an Ana, right? Because as Zen and Ana, you can it's like kind of how do I put it? So as Lucio, you generally want to play with your team all clumped up, right? But when you're playing like a deathmatch style, your team is usually going to play a little more split up, which can make it tougher for you to like get to them and heal them or speed them around. So I would prefer personally if you played something like an Ana in this context. This would not only help you support your team a bit more because Mercy Lucio is firstly a lot less healing than we would like, and also like if you have like a Mercy and a hit scan, so we do have a soldier in this case, you would want your Mercy to pocket the hit scan player as much as possible. so that they can just confirm kills and dish out a lot more damage. So in that case, if you go Ana, you will be able to keep your tanks up and allow your Mercy to just enable your DPS. But anyway, you're running Mercy Lucio, so let's see what you can do here. And I would just say it's pretty simple. Right now, you just have to push cart. Your team is likely still going to be doing that because, like, the enemy team is still playing main. They are playing on low ground, taking the fight uh, like ahead of this corner, which is something we don't normally see unless the enemy team is spawn camping. So just stay on card for now. At least that's what I'm hoping you do. Just keep peeking out a little bit. Just keep shooting. Get some damage in. So yeah, let's see what happens. Nice speed boosting here. Okay.
Protect the payload.
That's nice. We seem to be winning the fight here. Nice. Alright. So there's a lot going on here, and this fight seems like really dragged out. So before anything, I just want to say that you're playing pretty well at the moment. You're just like doing your job, just sticking with your team, not trying to make any hero plays. Generally, you are aware when the Reaper's flanking you, and you're like trying to poke him down, pressure him, which is a good thing. You are also trying to control the ball when you're slamming into your team. So you know in general that as a Lucio player, you are supposed to peel, which is a really good thing. I'm not seeing any mistakes at the moment. So let's see how things go. Right now, you've got your beat, and we've just invested two ultimates. That is a Flux and the Visor. The Zenyatta has no Transcendence, so I'm expecting him to completely die over here. Um, and your team should win this fight unless the enemy Junkrat lands a good tire. Um, for which, like, given your situation, and given how like scrappy this team fight is, I would totally beat for the tire so that your team can just like secure this point. So let's see what happens over here. They might, okay, the junk's dead, so no tire. That's cool. Good start, good start. So generally when point A is capped, we do see like hit scan players immediately take the high ground so that they can control the space as much as possible. And the tanks also either generally make their way through the top left or the right side here. So that once again, like high ground control is mega important. So they should be doing that for sure. And honestly, by just pushing the payload, you are getting like like probably the best value you can as Lucio in this situation and this composition specifically. Um, so yeah, I'm waiting for the enemy Junkrat to use his tire and see how you and your team react to it. So generally speaking, it's a little bit tricky to gauge whether or not you want to invest your sound barrier for the tire because sometimes it is destroyable. But generally speaking, you want to use the beat in case you feel like the fight is like winnable for you, and like I would use the beat in this context. So let's see what you do. Your mercy shouldn't be here. Your mercy should be with your DPS, and she's popped Valk. Okay, she's helping. Okay, that's fine. We're just chilling over here. There's like not much more we can do. Ball uses mine, so we just need to be patient. This is fine. This is restraint. I like it. Don't know why we amped over there. That amp was not necessary, I would say, and especially since we are mainly just pushing the payload, I'm gonna be a bit more nitpicky where I can, because this isn't really like a really fast-paced Lucio game. So when it comes to things like amp usage, like that wasn't really necessary. Your team wasn't so low that you needed to amp things up on the healing side, and at least from what I saw, your team wasn't pushing up, so you didn't need the speed amp either. So yeah, just try and be a bit more conservative about that. We're going off the lever, which is fine. Helping out our hog. This is okay. We've got the Junkrat. The Junk's just not using tire. I hear the Reaper. Okay, Reaper's dead. Nice, so the Reaper's alive. I think.
Oh, let's break it down!
Okay, I hear the let's break it down. So that's a good thing. You're using the sound barrier to counteract the tire, and the Junkrat's also ulting from a fairly vulnerable position. So if even a single teammate of yours just looks at him, they can finish him off. But you also have got the tire to worry about in this, especially a scrappy fight. So if that Junkrat is patient, I think he's gonna win the fight for his team. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. He's tired. Your Junkrat's tired. That ramp is fine. Okay. Alright, so let's rewind a little bit because I do want to talk about something. Alright, so here, like, as you can see, you were like focusing on trying to get the Wrecking Ball who is spinning around point, and he is being healed by his Mercy. So I would say that in this case, you should focus your attention on someone like the Reaper, because he is much more of an immediate threat to your team than the Ball, who is just kind of like trying to stall for time, like slash just knock your team around, compared to the Reaper, who can get some like really lethal shots onto your teammates. So in such a case, just like ignore the Ball, and try and focus on like the immediate threat to your team. Because think of it even this way, like the Ball, especially when he's getting healed, your damage as a Lucio is not going to be enough to go through the Mercy healing, given how much health the Ball has, and it's just going to be a waste of time for you. So yeah, just focus your attention on the Reaper like you did on point one, which was really nice. So yeah, I would expect you to do that more. Even when, okay, we'll just get to that bit when we go ahead. Like here we are trying to poke at the coalescing Moira, which is like there's barely any value for Lucio there because like you're definitely not gonna outdamage a coalescing Moira. So again, that's not enough value for you. Meanwhile, your Moira is focusing on finishing off your teammates, and it would be better if you like stayed closer to your teammates and pressured like some more vulnerable enemies of yours. So, for example, you could have like just poked at the Reaver whom your hog is dueling over here, or you could have like just tried to confirm the kill on this Junkrat. In this case, you could have gone for the ball because your teammates are already focusing him. So, like, and since you're coordinating with your DPS, and you also mentioned the hog was in voice chat, so you guys could just focus the same targets and you'd be fine. So in this case, again, for almost any character, focusing down a calling Moira is not good because like you need ridiculous amounts of sustained damage to take her down, and like like if you were a Hanzo or a Widow, I would totally let you like I would totally be okay with you trying to go for that, but yeah, in this case it's not enough. Anyway, just some nitpicky things, but like I said, since it's not a very fast-paced game, I'm gonna try and go into all this stuff. Recap, please. So they've gone Orisa, Doomfist, McCree. Interesting. So we just spoke. I think the best thing we can do is just get out at this point. I think once again you should be the one pushing cart because your Mercy needs to be able to damage boost your DPS, and it's easy for her to keep your whole team up alone than it is for you. So I would just recommend that you push card and like poke whomever comes into your line of sight because there's not much else you can do in this context. Yo, Junk's dead. Okay. Speeding up. Team pushing up. Yeah, I got the hook. Okay. Oh, we back up now. Okay, we got the super charger. That's good.
Oh, let's break it. Damn! Check this out. Move to the beat. Let's get patched up.
Alright, so let's quickly talk about like the beat to counter the Reaver bomb. In this case, it was like the right choice. You were aware of like your teammates' positions and like where the bomb was going to land, and that was like a good judgment on your part. But in general, guys, remember the Diva bomb does 1,000 damage at its closest range. So and like the sound barrier applies 750 temporary shields. So if you are like a 200 HP character and you have 750 temp shields available, your like effective HP is 950, and a Reaver bomb can still kill you if you're in max range. So like once again a good judgment on Solus's part, because they were able to like figure out that the Reaver bomb wasn't within like the closest possible range to kill most of their teammates. So a good call on that part. And also looking at like the heroes the enemy team has, there isn't much like there isn't any ultimate that I would specifically save sound barrier for. You could argue that you can save it for meteor strike, but once again that depends on the situation. So it's a good use. I like maybe there could have been a better use, but at this point I don't see it. You're playing fine. Okay. Pushing that is fine. Dude, okay. Okay. A summary of round one. You're playing pretty well. Y- for the most part, you know where to position, which is like just generally playing it safe, being around your tanks, like being where most of your team is essentially. And you're not trying to make any hero plays, which makes sense because, especially in this context, like on this map with the given composition, that's not like what you should be doing. You're just like nicely poking around. Um, I would honestly just like really have liked to watch you playing in a proper Deathball comp because reviewing Lucio gameplay in such a non-meta composition, like because you never see Lucio with like a Hog Sigma composition, so there would be a lot more that I could have like spoken to you about and coached you about if it were like if you were playing a rush comp with Reinhardt or even like sort of the Neo Goats comp with Winston Diva. But anyway, so far so good. Let's see how you do in round two.
4. Ready for battle.
All right. So we've got pretty much the same composition: Sigma Hog, Junkrat, Soldier, Mercy, Lucio. Um, and we are gonna hold this corner, which is okay, I guess. Generally speaking, on Havana, like spawn camping is a really good strategy. And since you're playing Lucio, you guys could have played a rush composition. So maybe something like a May Reaper, May McCree, with like Orion Diva and Pap Lucio. That's like a pretty standard comp if you're playing on Havana. Because if you can hold the first point, sorry, if you can like hold the spawn for even like a minute, you guarantee yourself one fight at this corner, and then probably guarantee yourself another fight before the card reaches this checkpoint. So like spawn camping just gives you one extra fight, which is something most teams will go for, especially in a meta where Brawl is really good, and currently it is. So yeah. Maybe you could try doing this in your ranked games where if you're playing Lucio, you could, on a map, especially where Brawl is good, Brawl, Rush, Deathball, whatever you want to call it, you could ask your team if they can play the heroes that are necessary to put it all together, like Rein Zarya, Rein Diva, Rein Sigma, any of them works. Like things like May, Reaper, Doomfist, Sombra sometimes, Torbjorn, McCree, there's a lot of stuff that can go with it. Anyway, I'm pretty much expecting you to play like pokey as like before. So play this corner, just poke around. All you want to do is build your ult up as quickly as possible. Um, and yeah, let's see how you do here.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Just poking. It's good. Your Junkrat's in deep, really deep. Junkrat fed. Unfortunate. Yeah, that's. The Mercy's dead. So you really want to group up with your team instead of going in hard because the card's really close to the point. We are investing. Let's see what happens. No way. Okay. Okay, before we go further, let me just address one thing here. So, wait, where's our Mercy? Okay, our Mercy's coming back from spawn, so it's somewhere here. Alright, so while fighting over here, we lost our 6 shield. Our Mercy dies, right? So when this usually happens, when like the main source of healing or the main healer you can say dies, um, what you ideally want to do is regroup, especially in this situation, and I'll explain why. So like see if the enemy team wins this fight, they are most likely gonna get the card somewhere really close to over here. And if you guys continue fighting over here, the card's gonna be pushed up even further by the time this fight ends. So you might be putting yourself in a situation where losing this fight just guarantees a cap to the enemy team. But if you guys retreat, group up with your Mercy, and then take a fight as a whole, by the time the card reaches somewhere around here, you're gonna give yourself a better chance at holding this point than if you risk like fighting a 5v6. Hope I'm clear enough. Like, just to summarize, a long drawn out fight will enable the enemy team to push the cart further by the time the fight ends. And since you're losing a 5v6, since you're playing a 5v6, you're more likely to lose. Um, and if you lose that fight, the enemy team will most probably cap. Instead, if you group up and take just one clean fight when the card is over here, you have a higher chance of defending this point. As we saw ahead, like your team was actually able to bring it back, which is really nice. Some unbelievable plays happening over here. Anyway, we group up and what are we doing? Alright, so we are with our tank, we are with Sigma. We're going on flank. Down. Alright. So when we are fighting here, let's talk about this. So what you did over here was wall ride over here, and then you poked around at the BAP who had like moved all the way to the cart, and then you just like booped him. I don't know if you were trying to boop like the BAP into your tanks or something like that, but that's like that's like a more risky play compared to if you just kind of stayed on an off angle and just tried to get damage onto the enemy team. Because if you are caught out over here, then that's like you're not only moving away from your teammates and denying them your speed boost and healing, but you're also risking getting caught out and picked off by one of the enemy backliners. So I would prefer it if you just kind of stayed here and poked around, be with your Sigma, because he needs all the support he can get from you. Because Sigma Hog isn't like a really good tank, like frontline compared to Rhine Diva, so it's gonna be way easier for the enemy tanks to take space from them. Um, so this, in my opinion, wasn't the right play. Because look, you pushed up over here. Meanwhile, your their Rhine crossed the Sigma shield, landed a shadow. Your beat was delayed, like your Mercy died. You still have a shot over here, but you still end up losing this fight. So imagine if we'd been like, let's say somewhere here instead, just poking. So then like if the enemy team had shattered your tanks over here, we would still have been on the side able to beat instantly on the ground, right? that would have given our teammates a much better chance at surviving. So as Lucio, unless you want to flank to like finish off, let's say, a 1 HP target, or you want to like make a coordinated play with your team, I think you should just stay with your tanks. So yeah, that's the feedback I have for this team fight. Then we die over here, and then things reset. What do they? Yeah, hog feeds, unfortunately. So over here, you can actually just stay, like, go and fetch your Junkrat and Roadhog so that your team can group up faster. So this is called taxiing, in case you didn't know. So you can, like, because if you speed boost, you can just go back to spawn, fetch any of your teammates that are just respawning, so that you can group up faster and take a fight together. So we don't do that here, but we are still gonna go with.
Time to heal up.
Okay. You can poke at the revive. Yeah. Nice, nice.
Heal up.
That's good. Boop away the Reaper. Nice. Alright. So, given the situation, I think given how our previous fights went, we could have like alt track that the enemy Reaper has Death Blossom. And what I personally like to do in such situations when I'm playing Lucio is two things: save my speed amp, save my boop. Because when the enemy Reaper ults, we can boop him away from our teammates and like stand a higher chance of your team surviving. And we can also use our speed amp at the same time and just like ask our team to not even ask our team, they will instinctively move away from the Reaper. So you can just speed amp so that your teammates can get farther away from the Reaper. So that way you just minimize the impact the Death Blossom has. And that also gives your team enough of a window to actually focus the Reaper down and finish him. Because he is quite vulnerable in Blossom. So, just quick recap. You boop the Reaper. You're just poking him down. And this is textbook, right? This is absolutely textbook. When he uses Wraith and starts moving towards your team, because no sensible Reaper is going to do that. Any Reaper is going to use Wraith to get back to their team. And if the Reaper moves towards your team while Wraithing, it's most likely because they're Blossom. This is like really typical ranked Reaper behavior. So, like, you're not going to see this at high levels, but in Plat, you can most certainly make note of that and utilize it. And so yeah, wait, let's see what cooldowns we have. So imagine if we had a boop here and if we had a speed amp here. We could have booped the Reaper away. Unfortunately, the Mercy would like still have been caught in the crossfire in this particular position. But we could have booped him away and spared our team. Then we could have just backed off. So even the boop would have been sufficient, honestly. But yeah, since we don't have it, we just lose this. We lose our Mercy, rather. We use Visor. I think this is where we just stop the dive. See, this was really detrimental. Like, we were just away from our team for no reason. And our tanks died, like, partly because we weren't there to speed or heal them. So, like, I know you mentioned in your Reddit post that you had stopped to type because people were flaming each other. But never ever let that affect your gameplay. Like in this case, just I'm gonna rewind this a little bit so you can see it happen. So we just back up over here. Our Sigmas use Flux. Firstly, not a good situation to be using Flux in because our Sigma is exposing himself. Your team is not close enough to follow up immediately, and the enemy team isn't like so low on health that they cannot heal themselves back up. So this is not a good Flux at all. But it just makes it harder for your team because you are not with your tanks. So Sigma ults, and then team dies. Let me just kite, I guess. That's fine. I'm going to waste a shadow. Alright, moving on. Oh, we've got a Rhine now. We've got a Rhine now. Although I would have preferred it if your Hog was playing literally any other off tank. It's fine. So Rhine Lucio, classic combination. As Lucio, you just like want to be with your Reinhardt 100% of the times. It's just much easier for Ryan to find offensive value when he has Lucio, since it's easier for him to like close the distance to the enemy team with the speed boost, and also back off in case he feels pressured. So always be with your Reinhardt. Never leave him alone. If he does like a mad charge, like communicate it to your team so that they can also support you guys through it. But always be with your Ryan. It's maximum value. And coordinate with him. There we go. Good trying. I don't mind the beat. I don't mind the beat. Alright. The enemy team's gone Ash. No more Doomfist. So yeah, again, AFK for a bit. You guys ideally just want to be holding high ground here so that the enemy team can't gain easy access to it. That's just unlucky. For you, I mean, your hog shouldn't have been down there. This is just okay. Let's go back and see what happened there.
Check this out.
Alright, so we've dropped down here in a rather dangerous position because we are right next to the enemy Reinhardt. Like there are actually 4 players from the enemy team here, which is scary. So we're just lucky we did not die here. Like at a higher level, you would not have survived this. Because the BAP would have got you, the Rhine would have smashed you. Alright, it's attack visor used. What do we see around us? Oh, that's just unlucky. That's really unlucky. That was a good one by the Reaper. There's not much you could have done there.
60 seconds.
Nah, that's not entirely on you. It's fine. That's a good play by Reaper. Hog's got the Reaper, and we are back. We're supporting our Hog, which is fine. We seem to know that this is vulnerable, so that's good. Heal amp, which is fine. This side, fine again. Unlucky. Just hold. Just unlucky. again, a really scrappy fight. The Ash was free. Not something you could have done immediately about it, although, like, a very underrated, like, thing that Lucio players can do is just poke down enemy snipers. Like if there's a Widow, Ash, Hanzo, McCree, like any DPS, honestly, Lucio's damage is enough to pressure them and force them to back off. And the thing is, since he has no damage fall off, it's actually it can be a deadly tool if you use it right, especially when snipers are scoped in. So in like any other situation where the fight was less scrappy, I would have expected you to at least in the pre-fight pressure the enemy Ash. But anyway, that's just like in theory for now. Let's go on and see what happens. A minute 25 left on the clock. You can once again just taxi your teammates. This like just get into this habit. Whenever your team is not going to about to take a fight, also just be with your Rhino over here. Okay. Okay, I guess. Okay, so I am not a fan of this play at all. I know you're probably trying to coordinate some fresh nut stuff over here with your Junkrat, where you just like go bang in the center of the enemy team and just finish people off. But that's just not a play that's gonna work very easily. And honestly, I don't think that's the reason you won this fight at all. Like the Junk's just gone over here. Your Rhine's dead, by the way. We should have been with our Rhine. Our Rhine gets rezzed. We get the boop. It's like really scrappy, but you get what I'm saying. If the enemy team were any better, they would have seen that play coming and they would have finished you and Junkrat off. And like I know that this kind of stuff works in Gold and Plat, but if you like kind of stick to these habits right now, you're gonna stick to them later on, and you're gonna end up dropping back down because you make these kinds of risky plays. And like even when you do make a risky play, like I'm not saying it's a bad thing to take risks, but the reward should be high enough, and the risk should still like have a good chance of succeeding. This was something that I cannot see succeeding in 99% of the games above Plat, like Diamond and beyond. So there's a good lamp by the enemy app, but yeah, your team wins the fight. Enemy round goes to Shadow. Okay. Okay, wow. What are we doing? 4.3. So now we don't need to get into the enemy spawn, and especially not so aggressively, because like we gain nothing right now from doing additional damage because we have our ultimate. But yeah, this is another good spawn camping point. There's a lot of natural cover that your team can utilize, and since you've got, I think, Rhine, Junk, Lucio, that's a great combination to be doing the spawn camp. So you ideally just want to play high ground like these crates and keep them in. Like the Junk spam itself will waste a lot of their resources, especially like the Diva's defense matrix and the enemy Rhine's shield itself. But yeah, you just want to back off right now. There's no point in playing at the door. That's good. Again, no point being so aggressive. No need to whoop in there. So just remember one thing. If you've got your ult, like you can definitely like spam your shots to poke down the enemy team, but don't like go super aggressive like you did there, like just to get some additional damage. Because if you have your ult, then it's not giving you any benefit to deal damage, other than just like poking them down. And instead, the enemy supports are going to get ult charge because the damage you're doing is not lethal, and they can heal it up and gain the ultimates. So whenever you have your ults, it's best not to go aggressive without those ults. So yeah,
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
I'm okay with this. Unlucky.
10 seconds remaining.
Alright, GG.
Victory.
Alright. So let's do a quick summary of Solace. Um, let's talk about what I do like about your gameplay first. So what I like is that you're not trying to be the hero as Lucio, which a lot of people do after just seeing a lot of like Reddit Lucios, even players like Lee Jae at the Overwatch League level just doing mad stuff with all those boops. But I like that you understand your limits as Lucio, especially on a map like Havana where there's not much scope, especially on the first 2 points for Lucio to make plays. So you were playing conservatively for the most part, sticking to the payload, just trying to get that card progress, poking around, because some Lucios just like they don't shoot unless they see a target exactly in front of them, like they don't spam, which is like a big detriment because even if they land some shots accidentally, it takes them closer to the ultimate. So I like that you were constantly shooting. I like that the fact, at least at the beginning, that you were checking the enemy Reaper and the enemy Wrecking Ball when they were like trying to attack your backline, or rather enter your backline even. So that's definitely one of your jobs as Lucio. Um, I also like that you like in general you weren't the type of Lucio that tried to like 1v1 people by taking risky positions. For the most part, like I said, we'll get to the negatives in a bit. But yeah, I think you're on the right track for sure. I would really like to see you playing Lucio in like a proper death ball setup or like a Neo Goat setup, like I said, where I can review you better because at higher levels you will not see Lucio being played in like a Rhine Hog composition or a Sigma Hog composition. So like for now, for like a trio queue ranked play type Lucio, you're doing fine. But yeah, let's talk about some of the negatives. So the first negative, like I said earlier, was that you were focused sometimes on dealing pretty inconsequential damage. So, for instance, when you were shooting the enemy wrecking ball that was trying to stall point, or when you were shooting the Calling Moira, it wasn't getting you any value, like close to like no significant value essentially, right? So you were better off shooting someone else instead and dealing more effective damage. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. Like any damage you do has to have some value, right? Because if you just shoot a ball that's constantly being healed, or you just shoot a Moira that's in coal and she's just gonna be at like 200 HP all the time. That's not any good value for you as Lucio. Another thing was that um, like we saw that play with Junkrat which you made on third point, which was quite risky. So I would advise against going for plays like that unless that's something you've like really practiced, let's say in quick play, and it's worked most of the time. In which case you can try it every now and then in ranked. So that's another thing. The third thing is when you're playing, especially in a composition like Mercy Lucio with low healing, you need to make sure that you're the one pushing card because it's easier for Mercy to access all of your different teammates. Although I would not recommend playing Mercy Lucio at all. Like, if you're playing Lucio, I would ideally like to see a Moira or a Batiste next to you, playing in like a close quarters composition. So yeah, at high levels, I would encourage you to like ask your teammates to play heroes that complement Lucio in case it's a good map for like playing Deathball, right? So things like Lijiang, Control Center, Havana first also, like I said, even Havana third if you're spawn camping, um, King's Row, Then you've got Hollywood A. All of these are like pretty good points for Brawl. So in such situations, just like when you enter team chat, just ask your team, hey guys, I can play Lucio and uh, I suggest we try out a rush comp. Like, can you guys play Rhine Zarya, Rhine Diva, Rhine Sigma? And then you can just like coordinate all of your speed boosts. Like, that's really exciting Lucio gameplay, and that's like the most commonly seen and most impactful gameplay at the higher levels. So that's what I would really like to see you play. If you do watch this whole VOD review and are interested in sending me another VOD 2 review, like with a proper death ball or like a dive roll composition, feel free to send it. I'll be happy to review it with some more advanced tips for you because there are more intricacies involved in those cases. But yeah, hope you like the review, Solace. GG, well played. And yeah, guys, if any of you like this review, do remember to leave a like. And if you're interested in submitting any VODs of your own, you can find me on my Discord. The link is in the description. We have a separate VOD reviews channel on my server where you can post a request for anyone essentially to review. And I will also keep an eye out. So if I get the time, I will hop in and do a review myself. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope we can do more of these more often. Bye bye. Have a good day.